Hi everyone, and welcome to my fourth video in collaboration with Cape Town Music Academy. So we're looking at how to work with your own mind as a musician, and we're focusing on cognitive distortions. And today we're going to be talking about emotional reasoning. So emotional reasoning is when you have a certain feeling about yourself or about a situation, and then you conclude that that feeling is telling you the absolute truth, either about yourself or about that situation. So examples that musicians may experience would be things like, I feel like a bad musician, therefore I must be a bad musician. Or, I didn't feel so comfortable during that performance, so that must mean that it was a terrible performance. Or, I feel anxious about this gig that's coming up, so that must mean that I'm going to have a bad gig, or it's going to be a bad gig. So what you can hear is happening there is that there's a feeling present, and then the interpretation is that the feeling is the truth. And of course that's not always the case. Sometimes we simply feel nervous or anxious about something that's up and coming. And because anxiety is an uncomfortable feeling, one that we don't like to experience, we conclude that the event is then also going to be uncomfortable and bad, and that the outcome is going to be negative. Sometimes we're overworked or overstressed. We haven't had enough sleep, and so we're not feeling good in ourselves. And then we project those feelings onto a situation, or we conclude that those feelings, because they don't feel good, then we conclude that we aren't good, or there's something wrong with us. Sometimes we're simply irritable, we're hungry, hypoglycemic, or for whatever reason we're not in a great space. And so just because you feel a certain way, that doesn't mean that you are that way. Just because you're feeling bad, that doesn't mean that you are bad. And just because you have uncomfortable feelings and negative feelings that visit you from time to time, that doesn't mean that you're defective or that there's something wrong with you. And in fact, if we pay attention and we observe feelings, they're kind of like clouds in the sky. They come, they stay for a while, and then they pass. So if you experience emotional reasoning, if those examples resonate with you, or if you've experienced things that have a similar flavor, then that's something you can remind yourself of. Just because you feel a certain way about yourself or about something that you've done or participated in, that doesn't necessarily make it true. Sometimes it's just that you had an uncomfortable feeling, and maybe that's a feeling that you need to process and pay attention to, but it doesn't necessarily tell you something objective about external reality. Okay, so I've been talking a lot about observing, noticing, paying attention, being mindful, being aware. And so while my first 4 videos have focused on cognitive distortions, in my final video I'm going to be talking a bit about mindfulness and about meditation, because I feel it's the best way that we have to actually develop and deepen that relationship with the mind. So I'm just going to be basically pointing you in a few directions that, if you're interested, you can then go and check out mindfulness and meditation and research and practice if you're inclined. So until then, take care. See you next time.